It's always so touching.
Forget the war.
Think about how it could be. A new mindset has arrived, where to share has become our greatest power.
It is this energy that guides us, really enlightens us, where meaning and purpose is a flame.
Burn inside every soul on the planet.
Welcome to the human-to-human model, uniting and inspiring leaders globally.
To build together with meaningfulness and joy.
Opening new possibilities for people.
Anticipating disruption. Rethinking society. The potential because the future is today. Join us to be a sustainable plus 100 world.
I think right now is clearly the way to act. Lack of clean energy will affect the Earth's core later.
I find that when people begin making small changes, they gradually get bigger because they get this feeling, I am doing something.
So we moved from greed-based civilization to human value-based civilization. Making money is a happiness. Making other people happy is a super happiness.
Wondering about your future? So bring your DNA to us today.
Wonderful. And actually, one more. 1 second.
When you are a dreamer, when you are a visionary, of course you have your vision, but there are moments that sometimes maybe you stop believing in this vision, especially in the moments of some problems or failure. So could you tell me, and could you tell also to thousands of people who maybe will be motivated by your answer, what keeps you fighting for your vision? What helps you to reach your dream?
Well, I mean, I think I'm kind of constitutionally just geared to just keep going. I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, it just I don't know. I mean, it certainly there are times when things don't go well, and then that's quite discouraging, for sure. And so then it's difficult to proceed with the same level of enthusiasm. But I do think the things that we're doing are pretty important to the future. And if we don't succeed, then it's not clear what other things would succeed. If we don't succeed, then we will be certainly pointed to as a reason why people shouldn't even try for these things. So I think it's important that we do whatever is necessary to keep going.
So thank you, and we feel that your next birthday is very successful. Thank you so much.
Okay, so just this was to show you what is our motivation, because just a month ago when we are faced with COVID-19, suddenly we found ourselves completely disrupted. A lot of our friends, they started to lose business. A lot of friends were in the psychological problem. And we thought that we should take action. Yes, because the worst in this kind of situations when you don't take action, because if you don't take action, then you will never succeed. And I was wondering actually why we are doing this. And today is Earth Day. And actually we are doing for all these people who are on the picture. And we have together with us in Skunku, we have Prince Nari, And I know that we are sometimes royal family members, we are high-level politicians, but at the end of the day, we are humans. And this is something which is the biggest power that we have. And when we unite the power of humans, we can reach incredible things. So this was like a personal intro. And I would like to give the floor to Jean-Pascal to start our official discussion, because I think that with power of united DNA, we can really help to change the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Yes, happy Earth Day to everyone, and thank you very much for being together today. Together we are stronger, and that will be the blueprint of this session. How we can work together? How can we better work together? How can we partner in order to make the transition happen? The COVID-19 crisis demonstrates how difficult it is for all countries, in particular emerging and developing countries, to prevent or at least to mitigate environmental crises and to deal with them when they unfortunately happen. It demonstrates, to some exceptions, how unprepared we are. It demonstrates, to some exceptions, how alone we are facing this crisis. This crisis is probably not the last one, and we need to prepare now. We need to make huge investment to very quickly provide all the people on the planet with all institutions and economies with sustainable infrastructure, services, and commodities, which like clean energy, water, waste management, mobility, urban services, healthcare, smart agriculture, to make our societies more resilient, stronger, and safer. It's particularly true when it comes to the investment to fight climate change. And if we want to stick on the 1.5 degrees pathway, which we know is the safest possible that we can achieve, we still can achieve it, but it requires huge investments. And the Paris Agreement gave us a very strong guideline for that, but now we need to really make these investments. And this investment are estimated by the World Bank at 23 trillion in sustainable infrastructures to be made in the world by 2030. And the majority of these investments will be needed in emerging and developing countries, including the least developed ones, and that is really a challenge. Governments don't have the fiscal resources to provide this infrastructure to the people, and private sector is not able alone to provide this kind of services at an affordable price by everyone. And generally, very often, especially in developing and emerging countries, the financial markets are not even able to provide long-term affordable financing to finance this infrastructure. So obviously, each can't do, but all together we can. And with the COVID crisis, the limited fiscal capacity available will need to be devoted to emergency food, health, social priorities, and economic recovery. But these priorities will not achieve their goal if they are not supported by a strong and safe and resilient infrastructure. What good is an hospital if it is not supported by clean electricity and fresh water? So the current crisis is also an opportunity for all of us to rethink our infrastructure strategies and paradigms, and to discuss today these consequences of the COVID crisis and the transformations on the infrastructure paradigms. We have an amazing, exceptional group to discuss, namely His Royal Highness Tunku Nakiyuddin, the Prince of Malaysia, His Excellency Aziz Reba, Minister of Environment, Mines and Energy of Morocco, Hans-Josef Fel, who is the one, as Thomas said, the one thanks to whom we are all here today, because he started the whole movement in Germany 20 years ago. His Excellency Upendra Tripathi, my friend Upendra, the Director General of the International Solar Alliance, His Royal Highness Naritapong Norodom, the Prince of Cambodia, Mokhtar Touré, my friend, Senior Advisor of the President of Mali, Rana Adib, Executive Director of REN21, and REN21 just made an amazing report on sustainable cities, which I think is really, really important to be heard of. And Leila Ibod, partners, a lawyer, partner at Dentons, a specialist in partnerships, public-private partnerships across developing countries, and Stephanie Wecken, who is the program officer at IRENA, and IRENA is currently publishing a very, very interesting document about COVID-19 and renewable energy, and she will share that with us. But without further ado, I will ask His Royal Highness Tunku Nakuyudin to address with his thoughts and high-level remarks. Your Royal Highness.
Thank you very much, Pascal. It's a great privilege for me to be given this opportunity to address this CleanTech forum. And in particular, I'd like to thank Thomas, Jean-Pascal, Andre for inviting me to participate. It's nice to think that most people today are listening in from their homes. The stay-at-home advice is probably the best advice I may listen to it just for the moment, but this is the type of e-conference that might actually become the new normal. So let's look at COVID-19 and see how it has affected us. What happened to us is a shock to the system. It seems like the earth is having its revenge on us. It's like the whole world has closed shop. I've never seen so many deserted towns, cities, empty streets, highways, stadiums. It's a real lockdown. For some countries, 1 month, some countries 2 months, but at least there is some benefit, if you like. It's cleaner air. We have cleaner air. The wild animals are coming out. Even in Malaysia, we see more monkeys around. And about 2 weeks ago, I saw fish in the canals in Venice. So this COVID-19, is it a wake-up call? Is it time for us to reset? I think certainly it's a good time for us to look at our recent shortcomings to see how to turn threats into opportunities, especially in infrastructure, clean technologies like clean energy, water, support and healthcare system services. Would governments consider addressing these? I say yes, they could and they should, because the pandemic has shown up the weaknesses in our systems. We noticed there were insufficient hospital beds, supply chain breakdowns, gross dependence on overseas supply chains.
Tunku, I think you're muted.
Oh.
No, you're back.
Oh, I'm back now, is it? Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
How far back was I muted?
You were talking about the supply chain.
Supply chains and all that. Okay. I'm just saying that, yes, should the government consider addressing these issues? And I say, yes, they could and they should, because the pandemic has shown up the weaknesses in the system. We saw insufficient hospital beds, supply chain breakdowns, gross overdependence on overseas supply chains, transport bottlenecks, and bureaucratic inefficiencies. So we must use this occasion to wake up our respective governments on climate change, on new technologies, artificial intelligence, robotics, clean energy, better infrastructure, IoT, telehealthcare, and a host of other things. All governments have spent billions and trillions on the economic stimulus packages. Of course, it's very good. We have to support the needy, the unemployed, the SMEs, and of course, the stock market has been rocking up and down. For emerging countries, if they borrow from the IMF to support the stimulus packages, they will need to repay these loans eventually, or they need to earn sufficient dollars to survive these harsh economic times. So this crisis will force countries to seek international loans, putting pressure on their fiscal capacities. So looking at post-COVID-19, new investment opportunities need to be created, and we need to lobby our governments accordingly. New infrastructure investments in solar, renewables, infrastructure would be a great way to bring in the necessary FDIs into the country. We need to revive the economy jointly, not just governments, but together with the private sector. Governments will probably look at privatizing some of their national assets, like many of them did in 1998 after the Asia financial crisis. So national assets such as power, water, airports, airlines, railways, highways. This will be one way of getting out of the dollar trap by bringing in foreign investors. And certainly this is one area where the PPP can take place. Simultaneously, we need to improve the service sector, the supply chain management. Don't be too reliant on overseas for key components. We must learn to be self-sufficient. We must relax bureaucracy on the approvals and registrations. We ourselves found in Malaysia, for example, there were huge bottlenecks in approvals. So we must reduce this lead time. We must also start looking at improving bilateral relations, especially with neighbors. For example, road transport. I had for example, in Malaysia, when lorries come from Thailand to Malaysia, they have to stop at the border, change lorries into Malaysian lorries. Can you imagine that? And then between Malaysia and Singapore, every day, there's huge lines of traffic. So if there is a way to relax all these visa requirements, because these people are going in every day on a daily basis. So this will help to reduce costs and improve efficiencies. And of course, we should not neglect the foreign workers. In Malaysia, we have a lot of foreign workers and also a lot of illegal immigrants who tend to be sidelined. They live in unhygienic conditions, in dormitories, and they are the major contributors towards this outbreak in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we certainly have adopted the Sustainable Development Platform for a long while, but there is room for improvement. What paradigm shifts do we need to make? If in the future industries demand more energy, let's give them solar or renewables. Let us start reducing our carbon footprint. We need to have policies that are forward-thinking, full of clean technology to guide us for the generations to come. Healthcare before was taken for granted. Today, we suddenly discover we don't have enough hospital beds, there are no test kits, no vaccines, insufficient masks and PPEs. On this, we must take action and prepare for the future. My company, one of my companies, Anta Healthcare, has been around for 58 years. And during this COVID outbreak, we've been busy supplying sanitizers, masks, PPEs, equipment to hospitals, and pharmaceutical products. One of our products, Defend, for example, which is a tag, has proven very popular, which you wear around your neck, giving minute amounts of antimicrobial vapor that gives some element of protection against bacteria and viruses. Not necessarily this COVID-19, but certainly other viruses. But healthcare business is still not without problems. We've had sourcing problems, where to find these products, the quality of the products are rejected, registration delays, logistical issues. For example, we were going to order PPEs from Thailand, from Bangkok. We arranged all the lorries from the Malaysian side, but because of their lockdown, they could not deliver from Bangkok to the Malaysian border. So that is one of these trying issues. So these are all the sort of areas that need to be addressed. Even Malaysia, for sanitizers, you know, the squirting bottles tops are all made in China. So when China was under lockdown, we didn't have enough of these bottle tops. On sustainable development side, particularly agriculture, we need to rethink the whole equation to reduce the huge overdependence on chemicals, which they use for the weeds and for pests. I think about 30 to 40% of agro production is lost to insects like caterpillars. There is no reason to spray the whole field with chemicals. And what happens here is that the birds die, the bees, the pollinators, the insects, the worms, they all die, but all you want to kill is that one caterpillar. I think this is a no-brainer, really. But with biotechnology, we can now have a targeted approach. So again, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to promote my companies. It just so happens I am in biotechnology as well. So excuse me for saying this, but one of my companies, Entogenix, has developed a capability to spray a whole field, but only the targeted insect dies. There's no toxicity to all other insects because we have used a protein from that particular insect to shut down its digestive system. Without digestion, it soon dies. Last year, we received a grant from the EU Horizon 2020 program. We are now setting up a plant in Porto Alegre in Portugal to target 3 insects, the olive moth, the olive fly, and the common fruit fly. So biopesticide field trials could begin by the end of this year. In global terms, there are many other insects which have caused devastation. I think you read about them all the time in the newspapers, like locusts, the fall army worm, and diamondback moths. So with global cooperation and collaboration, we can certainly add these to the list. Biopesticide for crops is certainly one area we would welcome investors. Post-COVID would be a good time to push this agenda for the benefit of food security. Similarly, for mosquitoes, our biotechnology has an award-winning non-toxic product that targets all types of mosquitoes in the same manner. It's targeted. We target their digestive system, and it has great relevance for dengue and malaria control, which kills nearly 1 million people on the planet every year. And I tell you, it's cheaper to attack at source rather than to try and find a vaccine. In one trial in Malaysia, we reduced the incidence of dengue by 54.7%. So we can certainly draw some parallels here. for what Entrogenics is doing is taking preventive measures for malaria. The vaccines for malaria and dengue don't seem to work at the moment, even though the Gates Foundation may have plowed in over 10 billion US dollars. Similarly, for COVID-19, while waiting for the vaccine, let us take preventive measures such as stay at home, social distancing, quarantine, testing, and tracing. The vaccine might come only in 1 year's time. So these are the paradigm shifts Malaysia is going through. The government has granted incentives for solar and renewables. There are tax breaks. Net metering is now allowed since last year. And this has opened the door for rooftop solar on homes, as well as factories. Eventually, when battery storage becomes cheaper, people can start storing their excess energy in their homes. And this would be a great way for the greater population to support our clean tech agenda. There are many areas for investment in our region. There is strong support for the hospital sector, and medical tourism is growing. Also, we need to continue promoting the manufacturing and service sectors, and of course, develop more infrastructure. We have to provide jobs for the unemployed. ASEAN, Malaysia is one of the countries in ASEAN, which has a population of 600 million people. They are well educated, it's a huge middle class, and we are regarded as the next growth area. We're very industrious and hardworking people. So, relocation of industries is the next big thing to happen. One lesson learned is don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversification is needed. ASEAN and certainly Malaysia is ready to receive you. We have industrial land, economic corridors, negotiable tax incentives, and unbelievable touristic appeal. In Malaysia, particularly, we have good rule of law, an independent judiciary, competent civil service, and pragmatic government policies. So put us on the list for a visit once lockdown is over. Lastly, this year commemorates 500 years of Ferdinand Magellan. I know some of you are history buffs, and you would recall Ferdinand Magellan made his trip to Southeast Asia, where his first stop was in Malacca, before going on to Indonesia and the Philippines. This was the precursor to the first voyage around the world by the Portuguese. So Malacca in Malaysia opened the trade doors to Southeast Asia 500 years ago, and we continue to do so with open arms. So I conclude with that. Thank you very much indeed for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Your Royal Highness was a really, really inspiring speech, and we understand that Malaysia is the gateway to Southeast Asia, and has a very interesting, visionary, and disruptive approach. Very pragmatic as well. So congratulations to Malaysia, and thank you very much for these inspiring words. I would like now to turn to give the floor to His Excellency Aziz Reba. Minister Reba, I know that you need to leave soon. Thank you so much for taking the time to being with us also. Today, you are the Ministry of Energy, Mines and Environment of Morocco. And I think I will need to shift to French. Et donc, j'ai demandé aussi à André de bien vouloir traduire les propos du ministre Reba. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le ministre, d'être avec nous aujourd'hui. Merci d'avoir pris le temps de nous exposer ce qui est, il faut le dire, est reconnu comme étant j'allais dire, le génie marocain de la transition énergétique. Ce que le Maroc a fait en termes de transition énergétique est absolument remarquable et reconnu dans le monde entier. Et j'aimerais que vous puissiez nous dire quelques mots de ce génie et comment vous avez réussi à finalement mettre toutes les parties prenantes dans le même bateau et à aligner les intérêts de tout le monde de telle sorte que le plan marocain soit un si grand succès. Monsieur le ministre.
Merci beaucoup pour cette invitation. Je suis très content d'être parmi vous et de participer à ce débat très, très intéressant avec des personnalités très importantes. Permettez-moi, avant de parler du système, ou disons de la stratégie énergétique de mon pays, d'évoquer quelques questionnements concernant ce qui se passe actuellement à l'échelle mondiale, si vous permettez. Donc, je ne vais pas dépasser les 10 minutes que vous avez décidé.
Pardon, Monsieur le ministre, juste pour vous dire que comme la plupart de nos auditeurs sont anglophones, André va se charger de traduire rapidement en anglais ce que vous dites. Si vous pouvez lui laisser régulièrement un tout petit peu de temps pour faire la traduction, ce serait extrêmement aimable de votre part.
Très bien.
Je vous en prie.
Alors moi j'ai quelques messages avant d'évoquer l'expérience marocaine. Le premier message, c'est que depuis bien longtemps, le monde était en train de chercher un nouvel ordre. Et l'économie mondiale, depuis bien longtemps, était fragilisée. Et on avait énormément de débats pour trouver le vrai modèle dont on a besoin. Je crois que la crise actuelle accélère aujourd'hui cette réflexion pour qu'on puisse vraiment élaborer ensemble. J'espère qu'on va réussir un nouvel ordre mondial dans toutes ses facettes.
So, thank you very much, Minister. So he indicated that after the economic crisis that we had recently, that this current crisis accelerates as well the development for new changes and for a new world system that we need, where we need to work much closer together.
Deuxième point, c'est que aujourd'hui, tous les débats qui étaient autour du changement climatique, de l'environnement, et tout ça étaient des débats sans issue, sans input, sans résultat. Je crois que la crise actuelle va permettre d'élaborer les vraies réponses parce que certes, tout le monde maintenant se rend compte qu'on a besoin d'un climat sain, d'un environnement sain et d'un engagement très poussé de toutes les puissances internationales et tous les acteurs internationaux et tous les pays. Donc, je crois l'épidémie va obliger tout le monde. Donc, celui qui est convaincu, celui qui n'est pas convaincu, il va obliger tout le monde à avoir les vraies réponses au changement climatique.
So, Morgan said, so far we had a lot of talks without a really important outcome. So what is right now really important that the world community is forced to work together. And if we want, or if we not, we really should think about what are the real actions that we can take that have a real impact, particularly as well for the developing countries.
Troisième élément qui me paraît...
Merci.
Troisième élément qui me paraît aussi intéressant, vous m'écoutez?
Oui.
On est là.
Troisième point qui me paraît intéressant, c'est que le système de santé mondial a besoin d'être refaçonné, refait. Il était basé sur le système curatif, ou disons le système de soins. Aujourd'hui, on a besoin d'avoir le système de santé de prévention. Donc, ça veut dire augmenter l'immunité de l'humain. Et donc, on a besoin de revoir, si vous voulez, le système de production, on a besoin de revoir le système de consommation, on a besoin de revoir le système éducatif, le système, disons, le système sportif. Donc, je crois pour aller vers augmenter l'immunité de l'humain face à tous les challenges et les défis qui peuvent surgir dans l'avenir. D'après les analystes, c'est qu'on aura beaucoup de crises de santé sanitaire dans les années à venir, dans les décennies à venir. Donc, le système sanitaire mondial va être chamboulé vers un système de prévention et d'augmentation d'immunité humaine.
So we need, in a general, well, we need to rethink the entire world healthcare system. One side, we need to think a little bit more about prevention, and prevention very often goes well about access to clean water and other facilities. We need as well to think how and where do we produce as well food as well as medicine. And in general, we need to think more globally, because what we see and what we realize right now is that we are all connected. And when there's a healthcare problem in one part of the world, that easily can sweep over to other ones.
Bien sûr, si on discute un petit peu l'économie mondiale, certainement il y aura une nouvelle économie. Donc, de nouveaux acteurs qui vont apparaître, qui vont s'imposer, de nouvelles relations commerciales. Et bien sûr, on va tendre vers l'économie propre, entre parenthèses, l'économie produite d'une manière propre, consommée d'une manière propre, utilisant les ingrédients propres, utilisant les process industriels propres. Donc, clean economy, green economy, bioéconomie va s'imposer dans une perspective très proche.
Absolument. Et de ce point de vue-là, encore une fois, le Maroc a fait avec sa stratégie énergétique quelque chose de...
Donc, c'est pourquoi, si vous pouvez traduire ce que j'ai dit, hein, donc sur l'économie propre, et je passe à l'expérience marocaine.
Pardon.
Okay, Jean-Paul, would you like to do that? Well, I do that. So the minister said what we're really facing, what we really need is a new world economy. And world economy that is based on cleaner technology, but as well on a greener world economy. So let's go for cleaner production and more cooperation.
L'expérience marocaine, c'est une expérience basée sur une logique qui est très simple. C'est qu'on a des potentialités au niveau local qu'il faut utiliser, qu'il faut exploiter. Donc, depuis 2009, Sa Majesté a lancé donc, la stratégie énergétique qui fait partie de toute une stratégie globale hein, qui vise bien sûr à produire et à consommer propre. Donc, l'énergie en est une partie parce qu'il ne faut pas oublier qu'on avait lancé en même temps ou avant donc, la politique hydraulique qui c'est pour qu'on puisse, comme je dis, approvisionner le pays et avoir donc accès aux ressources hydrauliques et protéger ces ressources. On avait bien sûr lancé l'agriculture verte depuis aussi une dizaine d'années. On avait lancé bien sûr donc le tourisme, entre parenthèses, le tourisme, disons, qui s'adapte aux potentialités nationales et bien sûr et qui pourra avoir des impacts positifs sans qu'il ait impact sur l'environnement et dégrader, si vous voulez, l'environnement. Donc, il y avait pas mal de politiques qui ont été lancées. À côté de ces différentes politiques, on avait lancé la stratégie nationale de l'énergie que je vais expliquer rapidement.
So in 2009, His Majesty the King of Morocco has started a new initiative concerning clean development of Morocco, and there have been several key elements. One is hydroelectricity, the other one is sustainable tourism, since Morocco has an important part in tourism, and the other one is about how to protect nature, but as well how to produce locally the food that is needed for Morocco.
Pour nous, on avait lancé notre stratégie énergétique basée sur pour atteindre quelques objectifs. Donc, le premier, c'était bien sûr de approvisionner notre marché, donc d'avoir sécurisé donc l'accès à l'énergie. C'est un point qui est très important parce que on importe la majorité de nos besoins de l'extérieur. Donc, aujourd'hui, par exemple, on importe à peu près 90%. Avant, on importait 98%. Donc, l'objectif était sécuriser l'accès à l'énergie en utilisant les potentialités locales. Ça, c'est le premier objectif.
So that been one of the key elements has been the new energy strategy, because what is very important, although there's a lot of sun in Morocco, there is something like 90% of the energy need from Morocco that is imported.
Eh bien, deuxième objectif était bien sûr de diversifier, si vous voulez, l'énergie. Donc, on a l'énergie fossile, mais bien sûr, il faut ajouter à ça les énergies renouvelables. On a énormément de potentialités onshore, offshore. Jusqu'à maintenant, on utilise les potentialités onshore, solaire, éolienne et hydraulique. Donc, voilà, c'est le deuxième objectif, c'est diversifier donc, les énergies dans notre marché national.
So far, the general electricity supply has been done by fossil fuels, by traditional fuels, and now Morocco is on its way for a diversification diversification, of energy supply, meaning they go much more for solar, for wind, on and offshore, but as well for hydroelectricity.
Et troisième objectif, c'était de maîtriser la demande, ce qu'on appelle communément l'efficacité énergétique. Ça veut dire de maîtriser la consommation et ça doit être une consommation économique, mais bien sûr une consommation verte de l'énergie. Donc, maîtriser la demande, c'est un point qui est très fondamental, c'est un objectif qu'il faut atteindre et bien sûr, on a lancé énormément de programmes en la matière.
Another key element is as well to control the consumption of the electricity need, so that the central structures know where and when what kind of electricity is needed, so that they can handle and balance a little bit more as well, depending on the supply that is available.
Et le quatrième objectif, c'est l'intégration régionale et bien sûr la coopération internationale. Donc, l'objectif, c'est que le Maroc soit une composante de tout un système régional avec donc une coopération et une connexion avec l'Europe, une connexion avec bien sûr l'Algérie, le monde arabe, une connexion avec l'Afrique subsaharienne, à ce que le Maroc soit un hub international et régional dans le domaine de l'énergie. Ça, c'est un des objectifs sur lesquels on a bien travaillé et on continue à travailler en la matière.
His Excellency the Minister said very important is as well the regional and international cooperation. We're from one side with the North African neighbors like Algeria, but as well with sub-Saharan neighbors, but not to forget Europe, because there's a quite...
Of course.
Yes.
Alors, très brièvement, comment on a fait? Donc, premièrement, donc, on a mis en place une réglementation qui encourage l'investissement et qui crée un équilibre entre la profitabilité de l'investissement et le service public.
So there have been a number of investment rules to facilitate international investment within Morocco for energy supply.
Donc, on a développé la confiance donc la confiance entre le public et le privé. Donc, on a fait recours au partenariat public-privé. Donc, chez nous, c'est plus de 12 pays qui investissent dans le domaine de l'énergie. Donc, les entreprises européennes, américaines, asiatiques, arabes, marocaines. Donc, on est un marché qui est très ouvert, qui fait confiance aux sociétés privées et avec dans une compétition, logique de compétition loyale avec une transparence totale.
So within this orientation, there have been a lot of investment laws to secure international investment decided, and right now there are more than 12 countries that have in a private-public partnership invested in Morocco, coming from Europe, coming from from America, but as well from Asia and Arabic countries.
Et aussi, on a décidé à ce que ces grands investissements qui va nous permettre d'avoir un mix énergétique très important, ces investissements doivent aussi être basés sur une logique de compensation industrielle. Ça veut dire on veut développer de l'électricité, avoir de l'énergie propre, mais aussi il faut avoir de l'industrie de l'énergie. Donc nous avons attiré pas mal d'investissements dans les composantes solaires, les composantes éoliennes, les composantes électroniques qui sont liées à l'énergie. Nous voulons développer cette nouvelle industrie et on est en train de mettre en place l'écosystème pour développer cette industrie énergétique.
Besides supporting industrial projects to create and produce electricity, Morocco has a well-developed strategy how to attract investment in industry that produces part of the needed components, like for wind industry, but as well for solar industry, so that there are going to be as well a higher local impact for local jobs.
Et un quatrième point, c'est que aussi pour accompagner toute cette dynamique énergétique, c'est développer la recherche et développement. Donc nous avons des plateformes de recherche qui sont très avancées, qui sont connectées à des centres de recherche européens, américains, des centres de recherche asiatiques, et donc dans différents domaines, le solaire, le biomasse, Nexus eau et énergie, l'hydrogène, dans tous les domaines qui concernent l'énergie, qui concernent bien sûr l'énergie et l'environnement. Donc ça, cette question de recherche et développement, c'est une question fondamentale pour notre expérience marocaine.
Another essential column of the development in Morocco is the investment in research facilities. And there have been a couple of research platforms created that go for the international cooperation with other research institutes, particularly focusing on solar, on biomass, but as well on hydrogen. And there are international cooperations with Asia, America, and as well European structures.
Un dernier point, c'est que nous considérons, vu notre position géostratégique, nous ne sommes pas loin de l'Europe, nous sommes la porte d'entrée vers l'Europe et vers l'Afrique et vers le monde arabe. Donc la position stratégique, avec les développements de la logistique qu'on a mis en place, particulièrement la logistique maritime, et qui fait qu'aujourd'hui on est très bien connecté au monde. On est 17e en termes de connexion maritime, donc vu les grands investissements. Donc nous croyons que le Maroc pourra être un vrai hub énergétique pour l'énergie mondiale. Donc c'est pourquoi nous voulons être dans un partenariat avancé avec l'Europe, et donc nous suivons de près le Green Deal en Europe. Nous avons des négociations avec l'Union européenne, nous avons des négociations avec pas mal de pays européens. Nous avons signé, si vous voulez, un pacte de ce qu'on appelle l'open market avec certains pays européens. Nous consolidons bien sûr la connexion avec nos frères algériens et nous sommes en train de travailler, comme j'ai dit, avec l'Afrique. Donc le Maroc pourra être une vraie plateforme, disons, incontournable pour l'économie mondiale, mais aussi pour l'énergie mondiale.
So it's excellent. The minister said that first, Morocco is as well the crossing point between Africa and Europe. So it's going to be really a very important hub to more exchanges. There are some local energy markets that are developed. There is important cooperation with Algeria, and then Morocco is in the 17th place. Donc, le Maroc est au 17e place dans quel domaine?
Dans la connectivité maritime.
Okay, so Morocco is in the 17th place worldwide concerning the connectivity of marine transport.
Alors, et pour compléter, c'est que nous croyons et nous sommes en train de préparer tous les ingrédients pour toutes les conditions et toutes les bases pour ça. Nous croyons que le Maroc pourra exporter de l'électricité et donc pourra exporter de l'hydrogène. Nous croyons aussi que le Maroc pourra être une logistique très importante en termes de stockage de l'énergie, quelle que soit l'énergie. Pourquoi? Parce que l'énergie mondiale a besoin d'être sécurisée. La logistique mondiale de l'énergie a besoin d'être sécurisée parce qu'il y a des conflits à l'échelle internationale et des conflits au niveau régional. Donc, le Maroc est dans une position qui permettra donc de sécuriser l'énergie mondiale, d'exporter de l'électricité, de l'hydrogène, de stocker de l'énergie pour l'économie mondiale.
So Morocco has all the potential to be a much more important player on the energy world, and particularly in the area of hydrogen, electricity, but as well in storage of electricity.
Et c'est pourquoi nous sommes très actifs dans toutes les organisations régionales et les organisations internationales, avec l'Agence internationale de l'énergie, l'Agence internationale des énergies renouvelables. Donc, juste après, j'aurai une réunion à distance avec le directeur général de l'ARENA, l'AIF, le Forum international de l'énergie, Alliance internationale solaire. Donc, nous sommes très, très actifs dans toutes les organisations régionales et internationales. Bien sûr, l'objectif de cette participation, bien sûr, c'est d'apporter notre point de vue sur les différentes, l'évolution donc de l'économie verte et du changement climatique et de l'énergie, mais aussi de diversifier nos partenaires. Le Maroc croit beaucoup à la diversification des partenaires et je crois que même la crise actuelle va imposer au monde de revoir ses relations internationales et de diversifier les partenariats pour avoir des partenariats très solides qui ne soient pas impactés par n'importe quelle crise.
Absolument.
S'il peut traduire et on termine.
André.
Okay. Yes. So the Morocco is very much involved in a lot of international structures. There's right after our talk, there's going to be a talk with the head of ARENA, and Morocco is as well involved in International Solar Alliance. But right now, the crisis shows as well that we have to rethink as well some of the partnerships that we need as well to a higher diversification concerning the partnerships. And I think lots of actions and non-action that we've seen during this crisis made everybody as well understand that we need different kind of partnership for long-term engagement.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to attend this debate, to participate, to express my shortly, of course, our energy dynamic, our thinking about what's happening in the world. I believe that we will have a new world. I believe that we will see new actors, but I believe we need more solution to have Pacific world. Pacific world based on trust relation between nations, between economies, between actors. We need that to face all the challenges that will come in the future.
Absolutely. Merci beaucoup, Excellence, pour votre intervention extrêmement valuable, comme on dit en anglais. So I will switch back to English. Merci beaucoup, André. Je crois que, donc, Excellence, vous devez nous quitter. Je crois également que...
Non, je vais rester avec vous jusqu'à 11h, jusqu'à 10h du Maroc. On a encore une demi-heure avec vous.
D'accord. Alors, c'est formidable. Je crois que I think that His Royal Highness Tunku needs now to leave. So thank you very much for being with us, Your Royal Highness, and looking forward to visit Malaysia as you're invited us to do, and probably maybe we are going to go all together, because again, together we are stronger. So now let me
thank you very much for joining your DNA.
Absolutely. So let me hand the floor to Leila Ubo. Leila Ubo is a great lawyer. She's been working across the globe, especially in Africa, and seen all kinds of partnerships. And I think the notion of partnership, the notion of trust that has been underlined by the previous speakers is really important. And please, Leila, tell us a little more about what kind of partnerships we can think about in order to align public, private, and civil society interest.
Thank you, Jean-Pascal, and thank you, Thomas. Again, happy Earth Day to everybody. I think we need to be very aware that it's a very special day. I'm very pleased to be here. And I will share with you my view, just my view of my experience and what will happen after the COVID-19 crisis and how we can change the paradigm, because I think we're all talking about that. And I will talk more about Africa because, as you mentioned, Jean-Pascal, is a continent that I really enjoy, really like, and been working on the continent over the last 18 years. What we're going to face after the COVID-19 in Africa is going to be, and I'm very sorry to be very negative at the start, a very, very important crisis. Of course, we're going to have a health crisis, but we're going to have also an agricultural crisis, and it already started. I think everybody knows that the price of commodities started increasing. We're going to have a schooling crisis, which is very specific to Africa because all the school has to be shut down. And we all know that all the girls are back home, and we don't know how the little girls will be able to go back to school after. So it will be a schooling issue, a woman issue as well, on top, of course, of the usual issue that Africa is facing in terms of, access to energy, access to clean water, waste management, and transportation. So that's not very good, but I think we need to be prepared, and that's our own responsibility to be aware that we're going to have a lot of work to do. And on top of this crisis, what's happening in some countries in Africa, especially in the oil and gas producing country, it's part of the old world, and it's also part of the new world. We are facing an oil and gas crisis. You know that the price of the barrel in the United States was negative 2 days ago, but that will have a huge impact on the financial budget, on the budget on country like Gabon, Nigeria, and Ghana. They're already facing massive budget issues. And when you add on the top of all the crises that I mentioned before, this oil and gas crisis for some states which were doing better than the other one, the situation is going to be very tense after COVID-19. So the usual answer that we had for many years and for decades, and I implemented, and that's why I've been invited to this panel, is to think the relation between private and public sector. So when the public sector has the financial resources, not the financial capacity to take care of a precise situation, we found a way in the past to build public-private partnership. So it can be privatization, as has been mentioned in Cambodia. It can be also concession, BOT, PPP. All those mechanisms are basically legal instruments to create a relationship between the private and the public sector. It can be a solution, or it cannot be, because I think we've been trying to do that for many years, and we have to face the results. It's a failure for the moment, especially across the continent of Africa, and mainly for countries which will need it desperately. So why is it an issue? Why we were not able to be successful in public-private partnership? Because it could be a good idea to transfer the risk, to transfer the burden of the different type of infrastructure to the private sector, who is able to manage it in a proper way, in a faster way, and willing to do it, also to do business. So why is it a failure? I think we need to take 2 step backs. The first one is the initial assessment. I see very often in many countries that the states doesn't take the time to do this initial assessment. So what will be the real cost of transferring this infrastructure to the private sector? If you transfer something to the private sector, it's normal. You need to reward the private sector for such projects. So you will add a layer of cost on your project. And this private sector cannot take all the infrastructure on its own balance sheet. So we'll have to go through financing, and the lenders, which is normal as well, need to also have some interest rates. So you add another layer on the cost of the project. So from the state's perspective, it's very important to look at the project and say, okay, I don't have the financial capacity to manage this project myself. What will be the costs of this project if I transfer this project to the private sector? Because at the end user will pay the cost and the states will pay this cost. So it's kind of the chicken of the egg issue. You have a solution for a short term, but long term, you remain with the same main issue. Second issue, and that's more on the state perspective and the state's responsibility. And I see my friend Mokhtar, he's here, and I already mentioned that to him several times because I'm advising states and private sector. So I'm pretty objective on what is working on each side or what is not working. Is a clear strategic roadmap from the states. And I think what His Excellency from Morocco just shared with us is a clear view that if you, as a state, you have a strategy, a very clear strategy, you market this strategy to the market, to the private sector. You stick with your strategy, you don't change it because you have election, because it's not the right timing, then you attract investors. And then your country as a state can pretend that they have a bargaining power, because at the end, it's the main issue is the bargaining power of the states to be able to transfer this infrastructure to the private sector. So after the crisis, I think what it should be very clear for all those states is to be able to have this clear roadmap on all the topics I mentioned, all the topics which will be very critical topics. It's not going to be easy to prioritize, because what do you do between health, school, transport, access to energy? You cannot do everything at the same time, but I highly recommend that we have a key asset or key project list. And the second issue is coming from the great idea that we all had. It's like we need to help. We need a foreign direct investment to flow in the country. DFI, it's the role of the DFI to help. Of course, DFIs are here to help, but what is really happening? And again, after COVID-19, we won't have time for that. Because it's a really, really risky country, we need to de-risk. So basically, it takes a lot of time to de-risk the projects, a lot of times in terms of tailoring the documentation, tailoring the financing, and this time has a negative impact. And this timing has a cost that nobody is computing in the cost of the project. So the fact that we need to de-risk is taking time and it's costly. Okay, we need to de-risk, because if we don't de-risk, there is no project. But are we sure that we really de-risk project today? Because DFIs or private sectors or lenders are very often asking for sovereign guarantees because it's super risky. And then on top of the sovereign guarantees, you have a lot of legal mechanism to make sure that you completely de-risk the project. But because the foreign investor is coming in a very highly risky country, as I mentioned before, this foreign investor needs to have a very high IRR, internal rate of return. The lenders, completely de-risked, are also asking for quite high interest rate. And if you think back to what I told you before about the initial assessment, we're not de-risking, or we are de-risking at the cost of the states. And as I said before, the states will not have money, or will have less money in those countries to be able to support this cost. So it's not very positive what I'm saying, but I think we need to find a way to address it positively. And maybe the way to address this positively, if you have a list of key projects, strategic projects for each country, is to change the de-risking mechanism. I believe that if you link back to that, to climate change, because the main failure that we'll have after COVID-19, if we put in the back office the climate change issues, and because of the health, the sanitary the economic crisis, nobody's really taking care of the climate change issue. And I think we all here know that is super important. So we should take the advantage of this and make sure that the list of these key projects are also linked with the climate change issue. And maybe to create or completely reshape and rethink the de-risking mechanism. Why? And it's a question that I'm asking myself, why don't we create a fund, an insurance mechanism with some grants from the north to the south? Why don't we think global that the south has a credit in terms of carbon print and the north has a debt in terms of carbon print? And if you link back that to the developments, then we should be able to completely de-risk at no cost those projects, because they are key projects. They have no impact on green emission gases. They are in line with sustainability, with green economy. And us, as the North country, we owe something to the South as well. And it's in line with what we call the shared public trust, because climate at the end is a shared public trust. So I'm not saying that we should do that for all projects, all type of project, because we won't be able to do that for every type of project. But if we have on the states part a clear view, a real roadmap of key project, and on the private sector, like an investment fund, an insurance mechanism set up globally at no cost for those countries, then the risk is completely out of the loop. There is no risk. So it does not take time to set up the documentation. It does not take time to set up the financing mechanism. It's a way we should, I think, start thinking about it, because we cannot do as we have been doing forever. And I can put myself in the big picture. I, as a lawyer, have a liability, a duty to my clients, either the states or the private sector, to say, guys, you need to change the way you were doing business. It's not possible. We have no time to offer that anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leila, for this very interesting insight. I think what is the key takeaway of that is that there is a need for a partnership between North and South, especially on this de-risking instrument and the creation of a common of a global public good, which is would be the collective incentive of everyone. And the most important thing maybe is that this de-risking is at no cost, or maybe it's the cost of it is counterweight by the value created by the global public good. And I think it's a great idea, and probably that's something we should work all together to be stronger and to be de-risked. Thank you very much, Leila. We are kind of late already, and many people want to say a word and need to say a word, and some of us need to leave before the end of the session. So maybe I know that Rana needs to leave at 12, and again, Rana, sorry for being late. After that, so I will ask you to talk to us, and after that, I would like Eike, our event chair, to give us a word, and also to Hans Josef to give us the sense of the urgency. And after that, we will open the discussion with Nari, Upendra, and Mokhtar, and Stephanie. Sorry. Rana, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity. And I think actually it's quite a good moment to come in after Leila's presentation, and also this discussion between partnerships between global North and South. Because it's also interesting, I think, in this crisis to look basically also at the subnational level in addition. Before doing this, I would like, however, to underline two things. I do think there is a paradigm shift which is definitely needed. And it is interesting to step back and think about what the paradigm shift is when we're thinking about a transition towards renewable energy or sustainable energy that builds on efficiency and renewable energy. This is a paradigm shift which is not only about the technology. It is a paradigm shift which also enables new players to come into the energy markets. It's a paradigm shift to think energy not only from the supply side, but also from the demand side. And I do think that especially in these times where we're speaking about resilience of energy systems, which is an essential system to health, to water, to security, etc., to all our economic activities, it is really important to put into the center of our decisions the resilience of the energy system. And resilience is stronger when it's building on something which is decentralized. And I think this is basically where the opportunities of a renewable-based system come together with the needs of shifting to a future which looks differently, not only in terms of the energy system, but also in terms of governance to some extent. And I do think that there are two, obviously the renewable energy markets are also do have negative impacts also of the COVID, of the current COVID crisis, of the economic crisis, etc. But we also see that they offer real opportunities and are probably more resilient provided the policy response is allowing for creating the good market conditions. And this is really something to underline. The governments today have a key responsibility in setting the framework to be able to shift to a sustainable energy system. This means keeping up the targets, creating the right regulative frameworks. As Leila said, when you have to find a strategy, stick to the strategy, even if we're talking about long-term shifts. So I think that is something which really is important. They also have the possibility to create basically market conditions and governance conditions in which these other players can come in. And when I'm talking about other players, and Jean-Pascal, you had mentioned that Rentunon has produced the renewables in cities global status report, we do see that there are new players here coming in the energy transition, and these are cities. Why looking into cities? Cities are the first one, so they represent 80% of the global GDP. So in a situation where we're talking about investing in infrastructure, cities can be key with regard to that. Cities consume 75% of the global energy. Cities produce 75% of CO2 emissions. It's concentrated here. And when we're looking into the air pollution situation, I mean, we have seen all amazing pictures. Cities are very much concerned by the air pollution issue, but they are also concerned by the health of their citizens because they are much closer to them. So cities are very much driven not only by climate, which might be quite abstract, or development, but they're also very much driven by the citizens and citizens' interests. And that is something where in this discussion, I think it's really important that in the policy responses at the national government level, it's also taken into account that cities also in the move to a more sustainable energy system are taken into account here and are given also the possibilities to participate in shaping the policy and regulative frameworks. Because cities do have a power in, they can be leaders, they can be inspiring, they are closer to citizens. They are also very much interested in creating local values. And I think that here it is interesting to see, for instance, the whole building sector, urban transport. These are things which depend also on energy. And having this on renewable energy, building on renewable energy also mean that there are opportunities to create local jobs. And I think it was really interesting to hear the examples of Malaysia and Morocco, where when we're thinking from the global south, especially about moving towards energy, it's not only energy as on the consuming side, but also on the supply side, developing industrial supply chains, value chains, having local jobs. And that is really something which is really integrated in the thinking of renewable energy. And I really think there is, so it's interesting when we're looking at Africa, and obviously, I mean, I completely share your assessment, Leila, that the economic situation in Gabon and Nigeria and Ghana is very critical because they are oil-producing countries. But renewable energy has the power to move to something which is value creation, resilient economic solutions in every country, because we're talking about a local renewable energy source. And I do think this is really something which is important to take into account. And I very much like this idea of the de-risking mechanism, where basically the debt and the credit rapport de force power games are kind of shifted, because I do think it brings in an aspect which is interesting. And if we're very honest, when we're looking into the sorry, I'm losing the words. Okay, it's not important. But the finance sector and the insurance sectors, we do see that basically they are also assessing today climate impacts in their risks. And that's also why these sectors are important to bring to the table, because today, let's say, oil and gas situation, which can depend of political decisions also to some extent of a couple of countries, might be assessed also politically with another political risk than local renewable energy projects. And I do think that today we just need to see that renewable energy is not only about an alternative energy source, but it's about another resilience, it's another governance structure we're talking about. And as a result, when we're talking about the strategies, when we're talking about planning, when we're talking about policy and regulatory frameworks and markets, we need to bring other types of players to the table to not only take into account the global, regional, and national level, but also a subnational level. And since I know you're late and I will need to run, I will just keep it there.
Okay, thank you very much, Rana. It was really, really inspiring. And I understand, I will keep two things of what you say, two things of your intervention. The first is, there is the kind of partnership also that needs to be done between the government and the sub-state level. So it's another form, another direction of dimension of partnerships, which is really important. And the second one is the picture that you have on your back, and especially the last word, fraternity, brotherhood, which is probably also a very, very important word that we need to keep for all together, because we are all brothers and sisters, and we need to live well, very well together. So thank you very much, Rana, for your
Merci. Je dois vous quitter. I have to leave. I have a meeting now with Irina, with the boss of Irina. I hope we can organize CleanTech after the crisis in Morocco. You are more than welcome. And you are more than welcome.
On organise au mois de novembre, on va organiser avec notre club du Maroc.
Très bien. Donc je suis à votre. Okay, I will support you to organize this meeting in Morocco. But I have one day. Africa now need a new partner, trust partner, and also but Africa need to trust on its own capacities and competencies. I think we will have new Africa with new partner, with new relation after this crisis. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think Europe will be a very good partner for you.
Of course, with pleasure.
Yes.
With pleasure. You are more than welcome. We are open.
Yes.
Merci, Monsieur le Ministre. Merci, Monsieur le Bach. C'était très bien.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Okay, I'm leaving too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Eike, you wanted to say one word.
Yes, John Pascal, I want to be very brief because I'm very impressed by the level of our discussion, and I think we all recognize the problem. The only aspect which I want to add to the discussion which we have is really the issue of urgency. You know, all of what we are discussing right now, we know is needed, and I'm sure we all think the world is moving this way anyway, because, you know, bringing decentralized energy to Africa, bringing it to poor areas of other parts of the world, will happen anyway. But if we just leave it to the normal forces, it will be too slow. The limit which we know from the climate scientists is 2030. So by 2030, we should have achieved a large part of the transformation of the energy system, the transformation of the industry to green emission-free industry. So we should add to all what we have said, this issue of urgency, because the most stupid thing would be that in 2050, we have succeeded, we have done the transformation, we are green, but the climate has been spoiled and we are suffering from enormous changes of climate systems all over the world, which make a lot of trouble. So rather, let's speed it up. And I think the spirit which Thomas inspires in this whole conference and in the whole CleanTech Business Club, this is the right spirit to make us all aware of the urgency of the problem. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, Eike, and I think we all share this concern of urgency, particularly me. My organization is called Scale, and scale is exactly what we need, because scale is at the same time the volume and speed. It would not mean anything if we don't reach we don't reach the level we need to reach too late. So yes, scale is a volume and speed. Hans-Josef, you wanted also to share with us some thoughts, some initial thoughts, I think, or you want to keep for the conclusions. It's up to you.
If I could just add one word to Hans-Josef, because Hans-Josef is one of the persons who helped us to shape the vision. So sincere thanks, Hans-Josef.
Thank you, Thomas, for inviting and for organizing this high-level conference. It's very important to speak with all people all over the world over the crises. We could see pandemic crisis can happen, and it has a terrific impact to humankind. We see also climate crisis happens, and it has already a very terrific impact. I'm completely with Eike, who highlighted the urgency, and we must speak more specific over the urgency. When we look to the news NASA report, we will see that what we all agree don't exceed 1.5 degrees global warming. This 1.5 degrees global warming will be exceeded in 12 years. In 12 years. This is not aware in the most people mind and not in the governmental thinking and not in the governmental actions, nowhere. When we don't want to exceed 1.5 degrees global warming, and it is already terrible. Look to today, we have already 40 million people in Southern African regions who stay direct before hunger death. So we must look, how can we act it? And then we will see, when we combine the fight against climate crisis, we will get healthcare in the world. Most polluting of the greenhouse gas emissions are combined with air pollution emissions, with polluting the water, with pesticides in our food. So the switch to a zero emission economy is necessity. To fight against climate warming, we must have a world with clean emissions, with zero emissions globally by 2030. This means in the key center, in the core, stands 100% renewables by 2030 globally. Nothing else can help. But it is not enough. We need organic food globally without pesticides until 2030. We need clean water and plenty others. And the great question is how to come to it. What have the governments and the private sector to do? And it is completely right to combine the the private sector with the public sector. And the governments, the public sector, the parliaments have to decide for a political framework that the private money can flow only into the cleaning the planet, into clean technology. They must organize immediately stopping the financing of the polluting. And it is not done at the moment. In the corona economic crisis, we see plenty companies dying, mostly oil companies because of low oil price. But the governments come now with a corona economy rescue package to save these oil companies with tax money to go on with polluting the world. We must stop this crazy thinking and these crazy activities. A best framework that private money will flow to the clean investment is in energy sector, the feed-in tariff. It has shown since 20 years that it works, that everyone can invest into renewables. Private people, cooperatives, small and medium companies, farmers, as well as big investors, as big financiers and all. We need all these financiers to go to it. But only to invest into a single solar park here, into a single wind park there, and a biogas station on the other place is not enough. We must organize now a political framework that every investment goes to a single locality, 100% renewable investment that balance the grid, that overcomes all the obstacles what we have. And I proposed last week for Germany a new law to make a combined power plant remuneration and feed-in tariff that the investors goes directly to 100% renewable investment on the locality the whole year, every hour, and he is free to change, to work out which combination of renewables, which combination of storages, which combinations of sector coupling with mobility and with heating and cooling systems and others. This is a task what we have now. We must create laws that the private investment flows only to clean technologies, only to zero emission technologies. Then we can get a healthcare world without polluting, with radioactivity, with air pollution, with toxic materials, with wasting and others. And then we can come in 10 years to a world where we have really climate protection and the healthcare world together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hans-Josef. It's always very inspiring. And again, all this is your brainchild, so we pay tribute to you forever. I think what is interesting, and maybe it could be also the element around which the discussion is going to flow now, is really to understand how can we focus on cleaning and take the opportunity of the COVID crisis to redirect investments and organization of our economies in order to get to a clean world, which basically means also a peaceful world, because there will be no peace between people in societies and between countries if we are in a very polluted world. On the contrary, the resources will be so scarce that people will fight for them. So now let me start with the general discussion and maybe ask Nari, your Royal Highness, Nari Tipong Norodom of Cambodia, to tell us how can we achieve this togetherness. And I think when we prepared this conversation, you were really focusing on the fact that things will not happen if it's not affordable for people, and put back people in the center. And affordability for people is something I think is important for you. Can you tell us a little more about that, please, Larry? I think you're muted. You need to unmute. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you, Jean-Pascal. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about energy sector in Cambodia. Right now, we are in the turning point because the energy demand is growing rapidly, but in Cambodia, the electrification rate remains relatively low, and the tariff is one of the highest in the region. So let's talk about this. So to increase the capacity in Cambodia of energy, we need to think about the tarification investment. So to move forward, I think that we have to implement the government Cambodia. They try to attract investors to eliminate, to give some how do you call that, chance to invest in Cambodia through a different level of transaction. We have discussed last time with Jean-Pascal. It's about the price. Right now, to move, we need to find the balance between investment and the clean environment technology. So the main focus for the country like Cambodia, if we want to move forward, is to establish a point that Cambodian government will understand that the interest to invest in the clean energy will be the price. So through the energy renewable as solar or or how do you call that?
Say it in French.
By wind. Yeah, oui. Si c'est possible que je parle en français, je me sens plus à l'aise. André can translate. Is it okay with you?
Okay.
Ok.
Oczywiście.
Donc voilà, ça, pour moi c'est plus facile en français. Voilà. Merci André.
Well, that was Polish, sorry. Yes.
Je vais juste vous dire que yes, just voilà, pour le gouvernement cambodgien, pour qu'il y ait une chance, qu'il y ait du changement au niveau de l'énergie, il faudrait se tabler sur la compétitivité de l'énergie, c'est-à-dire au niveau des tarifs, combien le coût et aussi tout ce qui concerne l'investissement. Et aussi proposer des forums pour expliquer le changement qu'il y a dans le monde sur l'énergie renouvelable et le coût, et préparer, voilà. Ce serait un début pour le gouvernement cambodgien.
So for the Cambodian government, it's very important that there is more transparency concerning the price and the investment, and more information as well available. Because so far, quite a good number of information that circle in other countries is not yet available, particularly as well on the market.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Donc, oui.
So you wanted to add something?
Non, ça va. Alors, tout est bon, tout est bon.
Okay, so I think what is really interesting here is the fact that the governments themselves feel that there's no enough transparency, and they don't understand how the private sector come up with the prices that they're offering, and that is also probably part of the partnership, is to bring trust among the players, so that on one side, yes, the better frameworks are provided by the governments to the investors, but on the other side, the investors are more transparent on the money they make in the project, so that at the end of the day, what we do is procuring clean energy at affordable price to people, which is basically the SDG 7. The Sustainable Development Goal of the United Nations, and on that, I think we have very lucky to have Upendra Tripathi with us. Upendra is the Director General of the International Solar Alliance, and what the International Solar Alliance has made is amazing. For instance, they have launched a collective tender, which is a partnership between governments to procure solar pumps and to get a really interesting discount on that. So, Upendra, thank you very much for being with us. And could you tell us a little bit on how you managed to get the price so low for the benefit of the people?
Thank you, Pascal, and it's such a pleasure to have so many friends around. I had, of course, Adib was there, Mukhtar is there, I think, and Thomas, of course. So thank you for inviting me to this occasion where I can see so many friends around. And of course, Mali and Cambodia are members, and I also found, Honorable His Royal Highness Princess from Malaysia and Cambodia is our member. We are grateful to them. And I met the Honorable Minister from Morocco who spoke. Actually, he had come to the campus, and he was amazing. The way he visited the National Institute of Solar Energy. Now, to be brief, we have, as of today, thanks to all the countries, we have 88 signatory countries, and we are making good strides in various fronts. 6 programs we have. And this specific question of how we reduce the price of solar irrigation pumps, that was through something called demand aggregation. In fact, it's not me, but it started with the Prime Minister of India and Mr. Piyush Goyal, who was earlier the Energy Minister. They started aggregating demand for this LED bulbs. Each LED bulb in India used to cost around 400 rupees in Indian currency those days. And they aggregated demand to a public sector undertaking called EESL. It stands for Energy Efficiency Services Limited. It's a public sector company owned by the President of India. And then what happened that in the process of aggregating demand for 310 million LED bulbs all over India by the provinces, for the municipalities, for the street lighting, the prices came down from 400 to 50 rupees, which is almost 1/8 of the original price. So that was the cue we take. In fact, we take best practices from one country to the other. We are also following up the best practice on solar pumps from Bangladesh, IDCAL, which is the process of giving pumps to women entrepreneurs and not to the farmers. But coming back, so we thought if it is going to work in the space of LED bulbs, that aggregation will do anywhere. Of course, it depends on the size of the country. For example, India is going for 2.7 million solar pumps. And now 2.7 million solar pumps is a huge figure. And they have started the process, they're going, and prices have, of course, come down. But if you look at our small countries who are also our members, and small island countries, you find that the volume is so small. Because, for example, today in the morning, the first meeting of today after COVID, this video meeting today started with the Honorable Minister from Tonga. They had a, recently they had a cyclone, although, COVID hasn't luckily been there yet. And and they're looking at 289 pumps. It's a very small figure for a small island country. And because they came with us, because of the aggregation, the prices have come down there also. So what essentially we did, we asked our member countries, would you like to help your farmers? And of course, everybody would like to help the farmers. And particularly after COVID crisis, today the Honorable Minister from Tonga was saying that the farmers are so badly hit. Once COVID is over, they need some sort of irrigation facility to increase their income. We are only talking about farmers. There are various segments in society who have lost in various ways. So this aggregation of requests from various countries came down to 272,000 pumps totally. And we didn't have expertise because ours is a small secretariat. We are yet to recruit 16, global people, which we have started with, help of UNDP. We plan to do it before, next assembly of ours. And then what we did, we took help of ESL. We went for a global tender. We wrote to all embassies, all countries. We put in various forums to highly publicize. Despite all that, 5 companies participated. One was, of course, from Denmark and 4 were from India. And then what we did, we put a matrix saying that you quote for DC pumps, you quote for AC pumps. So the countries have a choice to buy whether AC pumps or DC pumps. We also told them to quote for surface pumps and submersible pumps. And we told them to quote in various capacities like 3 HP, 5 HP, 7 HP, and in some cases 10 HP. So finally, not all the companies participated for all the countries. For example, today, Tonga, when we were discussing, it's only 2 companies who have agreed to supply pumps in Tonga. And the prices, of course, differs from one country to the other. But the best part that the members like it, the tender that we floated is written as price exploratory tender. And which essentially means it's a service to the member countries that we have given. It is not binding on the member countries to buy from these companies. They can go for their own this thing. In fact, we would love them to use these prices as a base and bring prices further down so that they can, to the extent that they can maintain the quality, and they can also look after 5 years maintenance, because that is an integral part of this. Now, what we learned from the experiment, we made one mistake. And the mistake was we did not include drilling of the bore well, because our main emphasis was converting diesel pumps into solar. And diesel pumps, the drill bore well is already existing. So we didn't have special rates. But today we find out that many countries do need special rates for drilling. And the second mistake we did not explore the prices of micro irrigation. Solar becomes very, very successful when micro irrigation is a part of it.
Yeah.
So in the second round of demand that we are going to aggregate for solar pumps, we are going to put these 2 things also there. So it becomes much easier for our member countries. And we are also trying to form a quality mission in ISA, where our member countries can take the service of ISA to ensure quality at the stage of manufacturing. And that apart, next move we are going to make is something to promote universal energy access. We are going next stage to have a global tender for 45 million home power systems. A home power system has 5 LED bulbs, and 45 into 5, we're talking about 225 million LED bulbs. We are talking about a solar TV, a solar fan, a solar, a mobile charger, as well as 5 bulbs. So there will be 3 modular, power systems with lithium-ion battery storage for 8 hours, and this will have, the fan, if you want, and it will be 100 watt, 200 watt, and 300 watt. So you can buy the basic system with only a mobile charger. You can buy that plus a solar fan. You can buy that plus a solar TV. And it all depends. We want to give a more choice. Now, what we want to do, there's 700 million families which are there, which will remain even beyond 2030 without energy access. We're trying to convert that to a market which will depend not on charity or grant, but we try to bring down the price in the market so that they meet the cost within the cost of kerosene they currently use. Thank you once again, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Upendra. I think it's really inspiring, and it's when countries come together and buy together, they have such a powerful market power and bargaining power, so that they can really get interesting price. And the example of India and the example of what you have done in ISA is great. We have very few minutes left, and we have still 3 persons. So my question to Thomas: can we extend a little bit the session
until 1 o'clock at least?
Okay, great. So
that
we
5-10 minutes. I will write to the guys. They can wait.
we can have we can Mokhtar. Can you share with us, and after that Stephanie, and then maybe have a little bit of a discussion, or directly the conclusive words of Anne-Joseph. But Mokhtar, on your side, I know you have been involved in many in the International Solar Alliance and in many occasions trying to, yes, same thing, bring the cost down for the people. And I know that your country is very is facing a lot of difficulties, not only with the COVID, but before that with some civil war in the northern part of the country. So how do you what is your vision of how can we all partner to improve the situation of Mali and more generally Sahel? You're on mute. You're muted.
Allô? Allô?
Oui.
Vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez?
Oui, plusieurs fois même.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui, avec un petit écho.
Ah oui, non, mais c'est lié peut-être au problème de réseau ici.
Donc, Tark, si tu enlèves ton micro, peut-être que ce sera meilleur le son. Tu es sur mute sur ton ordinateur. Peut-être que... Parce que là, c'est avec ton téléphone que tu nous appelles.
Je suis avec un iPad et mon téléphone.
Sur ton iPad en haut, si tu tapes en haut de ton écran, il y a apparaît une règle avec un petit micro et en fait, si tu cliques dessus, tu enlèves le mute. Voilà.
Oui, c'est ce que j'ai fait.
C'est bien, bon. Reste comme ça et raccroche ton téléphone parce qu'on a de l'écho.
D'accord. Attendez, je vais rapprocher le téléphone. Bon. Bien. Bon, mais en fait, je suis tout à fait émerveillé de retrouver avec tout ce beau monde, pour la plupart. Et je dois remercier tous ceux qui ont été à la base de l'organisation de cette conférence. En réalité, nous abordons un sujet qui, dans son fondement, n'a pas beaucoup varié. Je vais essayer quand même d'éliminer les échos. Là. Comment on peut éliminer les échos, là, hélas? Parce que...
Bah, raccroche ton téléphone déjà, peut-être que ce sera meilleur. Voilà.
Oui.
Ah bah voilà, il n'y a plus d'écho. Bah, ça va à peu près.
Attendez, je vais prendre carrément le téléphone.
Non, en fait, c'est ta communication, c'est ta liaison qui fait des échos.
Voilà, c'est bon, voilà. Non, je disais que nous touchons un sujet.
Just excuse me, Thomas. Can you bring him? Can you bring him on the screen, please?
Et non. Allô?
Yes,
Yes,
fantastic.
okay.
Thank you, Thomas.
Donc, nous touchons un sujet qui fondamentalement avait permis d'identifier beaucoup de contraintes quant à sa prise en charge totale avec satisfaction dans le contexte africain. C'est pourquoi moi, je suis tout à fait d'accord avec Dela quant à l'introduction de sa communication. Elle s'est fait excuser pour dire que l'Afrique, ce qu'elle va dire sur l'Afrique est négatif. Je ne pense pas qu'il faut se frustrer ou s'excuser. Vous avez juste dit la vérité, parce que tous les problèmes existants ailleurs, s'agissant de l'accès aux services d'électricité, ou plus urgemment maintenant, s'agissant de la prise en charge des conséquences de la pandémie, se retrouvent démultipliés et accentués en Afrique. Et malheureusement, le Mali ne fait pas exception. Et pour rappel, en Afrique aujourd'hui, nous dénombrons à peu près 1200 morts sur environ 100 à 150 000 cas avérés et identifiés correctement. Correctement parce que c'est des cas qui ont été identifiés suite aux procédures de test et d'identification. Mais si on regarde de près les cas réels, on peut se retrouver avec 5 ou 6 fois plus de cas non déclarés. Parce que la simple raison est que quand on prend cette maladie, d'après les scientifiques et les spécialistes de la recherche, cette pandémie provoque 2 types de maux, notamment des maladies proches du paludisme et également des maladies liées à des pneumopathies totalement complexes et non identifiées. Et quand on connaît l'histoire des pandémies ou des épidémies en Afrique, on se rend compte que l'une des maladies les plus fréquentes, l'une des épidémies les plus fréquentes en Afrique depuis des années, j'allais dire depuis un demi-siècle, c'est le paludisme, communément appelé aussi malaria. C'est dire que la plupart des populations africaines, à travers à être plus ou moins immunisés naturellement contre les effets les plus graves souvent du paludisme. Mais malheureusement, pour ce qui concerne les pneumopathies, ce n'est pas le cas, parce que nous sommes devant une pneumopathie tout à fait complexe et avec des caractéristiques nouvelles non identifiées encore.
Excuse me, Mokhtar, if I interrupt you, let me just give this a chance to make a short translation for non-French-speaking friends. So what our friend Mokhtar just said is, like in many other African countries, access to energy is a complicated case in lots of rural areas, particularly. That makes it as well complicated to control the virus, because very often you don't have the infrastructure to control, you don't have the data available. And in that case as well, sometimes complicated not only to identify if there are virus infections, but as well if these are identified to act. And then right now the numbers that he shared were 1,500 deaths. Cases, but probably we need to multiply that by a factor of 5 or 6. And then extremely important is as well to understand that there's a important disease in Africa that is still not really handled like we should do as a world community, and that is malaria. That is one point that is extremely important as well, where we have to look into future times. Thank you.
Voilà, donc c'est donc à la limite une chance que d'avoir connu depuis très longtemps le paludisme comme pandémie quasi pérenne au niveau des zones de la plupart des États africains. Ceci a pour conséquence le ralentissement de la cinétique d'expansion de l'accès au Covid-19. Parce qu'on a constaté que malgré tout, le taux de progression reste encore très faible en Afrique. Parce que les gens commencent très tôt à soigner les conséquences de l'affection à partir des protocoles de palu qu'ils connaissent déjà et qui sont répandus non seulement partout au niveau des sites modernes comme les pharmacies ou les cliniques, mais au niveau des tradithérapeutes. D'ailleurs, à ce niveau, les tradithérapeutes offrent souvent des solutions nettement meilleures que les solutions connues. Mais c'est des solutions qui, malheureusement, restent tellement confidentielles que ça passe à la limite dans des schémas de confidentialité ou de secret. Bon, je pense qu'on peut le comprendre parce que c'est quand même des gens qui ont toujours œuvré avec cette culture de la confidentialité de leur pouvoir. Mais je rappelle ça parce que dans les stratégies actuelles à encourager, il va falloir à un moment donné, au-delà des types de coopération, au-delà des types de partenariats que les gouvernements sont obligés d'envisager, non seulement avec des privés locaux, mais des privés à l'international sur quelques problèmes que ce soit, il va falloir envisager de composer et de coopérer plus étroitement avec les tradithérapeutes. Ce n'est pas les Béninois, ni les Burkinabés, ni les Togolais qui me diraient le contraire, parce que ce sont là des pays qui ont su endiguer pendant très longtemps et en plusieurs occasions des pandémies, rien qu'à travers les efforts des tradithérapeutes. Je note ça en passant. Mais aujourd'hui, en plus des problématiques soulevées par l'accès à l'électricité, nous faisons face naturellement à un double objectif d'action urgente à mener. L'objectif de lutter efficacement et très rapidement contre la pandémie du Covid-19 et qui vient en toute première priorité par rapport aux priorités classiques établies, et l'objectif d'assurer l'accès aux services d'électricité. Et j'ai l'habitude de rappeler que, en termes de couverture des services sociaux, la plupart des solutions doivent et devraient d'ailleurs, comme toujours, commencer par la disponibilité de l'accès aux services de l'électricité. Parce que l'électricité, il a été prouvé plusieurs fois, conditionne l'accès aux solutions de santé, aux solutions d'éducation, aux solutions de productivité alimentaire ou même pour des revenus. Et aujourd'hui, plus que jamais, aux solutions de santé. D'ailleurs, en regardant les mesures préconisées, les mesures barrières qui ont été partagées largement par l'ensemble des pays affectés à l'échelle mondiale, on se rend compte que certains principes élémentaires comme se laver les mains avec du savon régulièrement, au minimum 5 ou 6 fois par jour, ou bien maintenir une distance réglementaire ou en tout cas souhaitée d'1 mètre minimum, ou limiter les déplacements, ou tousser avec des précautions spécifiques de manière à contenir le virus. Tous ces principes-là, leur application, leur bonne application, quelque part, peut être liée à la disponibilité de l'accès à l'eau potable, de l'accès à l'électricité. Et aujourd'hui, il y a un autre besoin de service additionnel qui s'amplifie, c'est l'accès à l'Internet. La preuve, nous sommes obligés aujourd'hui, à travers l'Internet, de chercher à communiquer, à identifier les meilleures approches ou les meilleures recommandations pour tout le monde. Et je dis ça en passant, mais quand on revient à l'accès aux services essentiels qui se classent en toute priorité aujourd'hui, que sont les services de couverture sanitaire en matière de protection et d'endiguement de Covid-19 et les services de l'accès à l'électricité, il est clair que nous ne ferons que constater l'amplification de problèmes et de besoins déjà existants en Afrique. Le problème...
si vous permettez, Mokhtar,
oui?
Je vais juste faire un petit compte rendu.
Oui.
So, what is extremely important now as well to understand is, well, first, one of the reasons why in Africa, in some areas, the infection are not yet that important is that a lot of Africans are already aware of a pandemic protocol via the malaria infection. Then there's one problem that is we don't have too much access to data, sometimes because of confidentiality, sometimes because they're simply not available. Then very important is then that there are that we're going to have as well more international cooperation as well within neighbors of Mali to find a good therapy for COVID-19, which is adapted as well to the national specifications. Then one of the key elements to handle these this complicated situation is as well that we have a look on the basic problems, as particularly on rural areas, which is access to electricity and access to clean water. Because both of them, that means that we, if we have easier access to clean water and easier access to electricity, and electricity means as well access to internet, and internet means communication and information, we can handle much easier quite a lot of important number of social and civil rights problems.
Ok. Donc, je disais donc que le Covid a amplifié à la fois les problèmes et les besoins. Et la troisième dimension de ces conséquences, c'est l'accentuation des tensions sur les urgences à couvrir les besoins et à se procurer les solutions perceptibles et accessibles. Parce qu'aujourd'hui, je pense que en plus des problèmes classiques liés à l'accès à l'électricité et à la problématique des changements climatiques, se greffe un nouveau problème et qui exige que nous soyons dans l'urgence pour tout ce que nous souhaitons faire et pour tout ce que nous devons faire. C'est dire que, quelque part, il faudrait que nous arrivions même à changer d'approche, à changer à la limite de stratégie, mais de manière pas solitaire, mais de plus en plus de manière collective. Parce qu'il est question de survie, il est question d'endiguer un problème mondial qui vient amplifier les autres problèmes existants. En Afrique, et dans les pays de l'UEMOA en particulier, sans aller loin déjà, tout le monde est d'accord sur les risques et toutes les menaces liées aux conséquences économiques perceptibles déjà. Il n'y a pas de pays de l'UEMOA qui ne soit pas affecté aujourd'hui par des perturbations de l'approvisionnement. Dès qu'on arrête le transport aérien, la plupart des produits, tout confondu, étant généralement importés, il y a naturellement un gros problème et une pression énorme sur les problèmes d'approvisionnement en biens de toutes sortes. Et ceci, naturellement, se conjugue malheureusement avec une baisse de la demande. Pas une baisse volontaire, mais une baisse obligée parce que le renchérissement naturel des produits et leur raréfaction fait que bon, les gens se contentent du peu et peut-être revisent même leur attitude ou leurs habitudes pour pouvoir s'adapter au peu accessible. Bon. Et tout cela, malheureusement, va créer, et c'est ce qui se voit aujourd'hui, et il y a même dans certains pays des révoltes ou même des pillages qui commencent à se faire voir. Tout cela va créer des perturbations énormes et une distorsion de tous les flux classiques qu'on peut observer sur le marché pour l'analyser. Donc, c'est dire qu'il y a urgence vraiment à agir collectivement, pas seulement pour endiguer, comme je le dis, la pandémie, mais aussi, surtout pour soutenir et rendre disponibles les services clés qui permettraient naturellement d'adresser convenablement les problèmes et tous les problèmes liés au Covid-19. Je pense naturellement en priorité aux services d'accès à l'électricité, et c'est bien vu par le CleanTech Business Club, c'est bien vu, parce que quand on arrive déjà à régler le problème d'accès à l'électricité, pas sur la base des approches classiques, des approches et des principes ou des fondamentaux habituels du business comme on a l'habitude de le faire, mais dans une nouvelle dynamique de solidarité, je pense qu'on peut régler déjà 30 à 50% des problèmes, y compris de couverture sanitaire et d'endiguement de la pandémie. Parce que l'accès à l'électricité peut procurer beaucoup de choses, à commencer par l'accès à l'eau potable. Aujourd'hui, le gros problème des populations, j'ai des films que j'ai personnellement fait en tournant souvent en ville, à Bamako et ici. Le gros problème des populations, c'est l'alimentation. Et en plus de l'alimentation, c'est le problème d'accès à l'eau potable. Et l'une des premières mesures recommandées par tous les gouvernements, c'est de se laver les mains. C'est au moins de désinfecter les mains et partout où on peut, de se désinfecter chaque fois. Mais nous avons encore malheureusement des zones entières dans la périphérie de Bamako ou même à l'intérieur de Bamako, dans des sites de marché ou dans des sites populaires où cet accès est quasiment difficile. Autre chose, la protection individuelle à travers les... Oui?
Si je puis me permettre, if I may, est-ce que André pourrait juste synthétiser ce que tu viens de dire?
Oui, d'accord. Après, je vais passer, parce qu'on n'a pas beaucoup de temps, je vais passer aux conclusions et à mes recommandations. OK, pas de souci.
Très rapidement, parce qu'il est 12h47, si ça ne t'embête pas.
Je vais essayer d'être très...
Stéphanie avec nous. De l'IRENA,
yes, Jean-Pascal, I'm really sorry. I will have to disconnect now. I really apologize for this.
No. I do apologize. We are running late, and maybe I've not been strong enough as a moderator.
But maybe Jean-Pascal, in this case, we can organize next week separate with Irina.
Yes, maybe.
Jean-Pascal, je vais essayer de résumer. Après la traduction, je vais résumer en 3 points les idées qui restent sans rentrer dans les détails.
Stephanie, maybe you can already share with us the links with the documents that Irina has published, and we try maybe to have a short video as well. Sorry for being so late.
Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Perhaps, I mean, just one point from Irina's side, and that goes to the discussions here, since a lot of it was said already. And we see a lot of initiatives, a lot of vehicles being put forward as a response to the pandemic and COVID-19. What we see from our side is missing is to speak in one unified voice. So we have a lot of different statements, a lot of different initiatives by different actors. I see nodding here on the screens. And I think this is something that we feel very strongly about, also in responding to, governments and their need to urgently have responses to how they can deal with the crisis. That we as actors and as a renewable energy community, or as a sustainability community, are better in consolidating the actions that need to be brought forward. And perhaps I'll leave it as at that.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephanie. Sorry again. I think you perfectly summarized the notion of together we are stronger, and our community needs to really join forces and forget maybe the egos and all that, and work really together to make it happen. We have everything we need on our hands. Now we need to make it. Thank you very much, Stephanie. Sorry again. Bye-bye. Mokhtar, pardon.
Oui, non, il n'y a pas de problème. Je suis tout à fait d'accord avec son point.
Maybe I just make a short summary of what you just said before, Mokhtar, because I think it's extremely important as well for all the non-Africans with a little experience with Africa to understand the situation. I mean, electricity in large part of Africa, and particularly as well Mali, means access to water. And what is for the majority of Europeans or people in Asia and America normal that we can have access to water to simply wash our hands. We don't have that much. And right now, there's as well quite a lack of important imported products that are needed in Mali. And that is something that gives sometimes as well some kind of troubles within the society, although they are already used to quite a limited level of access to important goods. But now I'll give it back the word to Mokhtar. Thank you.
Ouais.
Mokhtar, vos recommandations.
Voilà, non mais les recommandations, une bonne partie des recommandations avaient été suggérées par Léla dans ses communications, mais j'insiste et je rejoins totalement ses points de vue et j'insiste sur la coopération et surtout sur le partage d'expériences et l'amplification de la coopération. Je sais qu'il y a des poches de coopération et des initiatives de coopération en cours qui sont en train, dans une démarche très rationnelle, d'identifier tous les problèmes, les enjeux et tous les boulots d'étranglement liés à l'accès aux services sociaux de base que sont l'eau et l'électricité. Je pense par exemple à l'initiative de Lomé, dont Léla a d'ailleurs largement participé à l'élaboration. Je pense à toutes les initiatives en cours au niveau de l'UOMOA, au niveau de la CEDEAO, qui sont connues de beaucoup de gens, beaucoup parmi vous, au niveau de l'OMVS, qui est l'Organisation pour la mise en valeur du fleuve Sénégal, une organisation qui a travaillé depuis près de 50 ans maintenant sur le développement des services d'infrastructure liés à l'énergie. Parce que le levier et la ressource de base, c'était l'eau du fleuve Sénégal partagée par 4 pays, notamment le Mali, la Mauritanie, le Sénégal et la Guinée. Aujourd'hui, cette organisation est arrivée à être une organisation exemplaire en matière de coopération et d'intégration sous-régionale pour la production de biens, services et pour le développement des pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Et beaucoup d'organisations s'inspirent de tout ce que l'OMVS a eu à faire. Et heureusement, aujourd'hui, au sein de l'OMVS, le capital principal dont il dispose, c'est les infrastructures énergétiques qui ont été en priorité développées à partir de barrages hydroélectriques. Mais aujourd'hui, j'ai constaté avec beaucoup de bonheur qu'ils sont en train d'aller au-delà qui initialement, en plus de l'accès à l'électricité, cette organisation devait permettre la promotion de la navigation entre les États riverains du fleuve Sénégal. Elle devait aussi faire la promotion de l'irrigation pour booster la production agricole. Et cela aussi a été largement comme objectif atteint, voire dépassé, parce qu'aujourd'hui, on retrouve des agro-businessmen installés en Mauritanie ou dans le bassin du fleuve Sénégal au Sénégal, qui font beaucoup de production pour l'exportation en direction des pays hors de l'OMVS. Bon, c'est dire que en matière de coopération, il y a déjà un élan, il y a une culture de coopération sous-régionale, mais à cette culture de coopération sous-régionale, Léla l'a dit en passant et d'autres l'ont évoqué, il faudrait aussi peut-être imaginer d'autres formes de partenariat, d'autres formes de coopération avec tous ceux qui ont une certaine capacité de financement et en même temps de réalisation d'infrastructures de services. Mais ce que je voudrais dire, compte tenu de la situation particulière liée au Covid et à l'urgence de contenir cette pandémie et qui est une urgence mondiale, je pense que dans le choix du partenariat, dans le choix des approches de partenariat et des mécanismes associés, il faudrait peut-être envisager de faire une sorte de moratoire sur l'application des principes et fondements classiques du business as usual, du business comme on a l'habitude de le voir, et qui a tendance à mettre le profit, qui a tendance à mettre la sécurité des investissements ou en tout cas la maximisation du profit en priorité. Aujourd'hui, pendant peut-être un an, on peut revoir les choses et faire jouer la solidarité. Pas seulement Nord-Sud, quelqu'un l'a évoqué, et je pense que c'est là, mais la solidarité entre tous les acteurs potentiellement puissants, puissants en termes de financement, puissants en termes de construction d'infrastructures pour délivrer les services, en priorité les services de santé et les services liés justement aux services de santé ou aux services classiques connus comme des priorités, notamment l'accès à l'eau potable, l'électricité, l'éducation, la productivité. Et tant qu'on n'est pas arrivé à faire ce sursaut en cette période où des leçons de tout genre sont en train d'être naturellement délivrées à travers le monde et à tous les acteurs, dubitatifs, croyants ou non, je pense que nous allons encore malheureusement rater le coche et perdre du temps. Et en perdant du temps, on peut donner malheureusement d'autres chances à cette pandémie de se remanifester de la manière la plus vigoureuse. Et j'ai souvent discuté avec certains scientifiques, et je continue d'ailleurs à travailler avec certains scientifiques. Beaucoup d'entre eux sont sûrs que cette pandémie est une opportunité pour bâtir sur le plan institutionnel et sur le plan du renforcement de la gouvernance et sur le plan de la planification, et sur le plan globalement de la gouvernance d'État et des gouvernances sectorielles. C'est une opportunité de consolider les choses et de bâtir de nouveaux outils qui nous permettraient de prévoir mieux et d'endiguer mieux et plus rapidement d'autres types de pandémies. Parce que pour eux, et c'est des paroles de scientifiques, on n'est pas à l'abri d'autres pandémies peut-être plus graves que le Covid-19.
C'est clair.
Donc, voilà.
Okay. Thank you, Mokhtar. Just to make a short resume. I think what you just said is extremely important because, moreover, it is as well a little bit the red line that Thomas and all the team have been following recently. Together we are stronger, because what we need is we need to understand that COVID-19 could be as well opportunity for some changes. And what you said is that we need a moratorium of the business as usual, as that lots of people only think profit first. What we need now, and that is particularly for Mali and larger scale in Africa, we need more solidarity. We need more investment in healthcare system. We need more investment in infrastructure and basic infrastructure. And I think for this, Mokhtar, I encourage you as well to participate on these kinds of conference, because there are lots of people that don't really know how is the situation in Africa. So thank you very much, and give the word to Pascal.
Merci beaucoup, Mokhtar. Merci vraiment.
Juste une dernière suggestion. Puisque maintenant, nous sommes obligés de changer de mode de fonctionnement et de mode de communication, de mode de travail. Pourquoi, et ça c'est juste une boutade et peut-être une recommandation, pourquoi n'envisagerions pas de demander à tous les fournisseurs de services Internet de faire un moratoire pour faciliter l'accès libre à l'Internet pendant 1 an, à tous. Pourquoi? Et quand on prend ces providers, c'est généralement les mêmes compagnies privées, ils ne sont pas 10 000, ils sont connus, et c'est généralement des gens qui ont été installés dans ce secteur par opportunisme rationnel, c'est vrai. Ils ont vu juste en investissant dans un segment du marché des télécoms qui est très rentable. Et ils ont négocié, il y a peut-être une décennie, dans des conditions les plus favorables pour eux, des concessions qui leur ont permis aujourd'hui d'être maîtres en investissement, parce qu'ils leur ont permis tout simplement de générer le maximum de rente à travers la téléphonie cellulaire. Mais aujourd'hui, le monde est face à une situation où on a besoin de solidarité. On a besoin, plus que de business, de penser business profit, on a besoin d'humanisme. Et l'humanisme veut que l'on facilite aussi et la vie, et les conditions de travail, et les conditions de vie des populations pendant une période où tout le monde cherche à contribuer à l'effort d'endiguement de cette pandémie. Moi, je prônerais le principe de l'accès libre aux services d'Internet, imposé, si c'est possible, à tous les providers de services, parce qu'ils ont créé cette rente, ils ont créé ces outils de génération de revenus à travers un bien public.
Internet as a global public good, and that's also a great idea. Thank you very much, Mokhtar, for that. Very short time for Hans-Josef to give final conclusive words. And again, we are terribly sorry for being so late. And Tomasz is going to kill me. But I think the conversation was
a great job. Yes, everybody
was really worth it, and it was really inspiring to have all of you around the table to share this conversation and to share your thoughts and ideas. It's very encouraging and give us a lot of energy. Hans-Josef, final words.
Thank you, Pascal. I will focus on very few words. Main topic is we speak too much, a lot, not specific, not concrete enough. What I highlighted was in my first contribution, in 12 years, we will exceed 1.5 degrees global warming. So it makes no sense to speak only over renewable growth and organic farming in a way that they should grow and they should be necessary and so on, and go on the next slide with rescue programs for the oil industry to support the companies who make the toxic food and plenty others. We must become more concrete. Otherwise, we have no chance to overcome any crisis. And this is what the task is for us all, to eliminate the key points, to go to a worldwide campaign. Best would be with celebrities and with famous people and others who say everything the same. We must come to a zero emission world by 2030. This will be the answer for healthcare crisis, for pandemics, as well as for climate crisis, as well for the peace crisis. We did not speak over wars, but they are connected with all the wrong polluting system. We cannot allow to make any compromise. We must go straight on. When we do not go in the world this way, we have no chance. We will see in 2040 2 degrees global warming, and no one of us will speak in any time of any consensus in this, because this 2 degrees global warming will destroy the whole humankind society. That's a fact, and we must be clear words. And when we have this identified, then we must come back to the political rules, what we have to organize. And I repeat my headline: we need only laws that all private financing and public financing gives only to a zero emission economy, and no money and nothing to any polluting economy. Every financing of polluting must be stopped immediately. Otherwise, we have no chance. Thank you.
Wow.
At the end.
Thank you very much, Anne-Joseph. That was really clear and appealing. And I think there's, to quote a sports brand, now just do it. And we need to do it, agree. And I would like to thank you all for being for having been here with us today. Thank you for all what you shared with us and all the energy and DNA that you shared. Thank you to André Langvost for his co-moderation and translation. I know it's a difficult task. I'm Jean-Pascal Fambard, CEO of Scale, and I was absolutely delighted to have you today. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just add one final word.
Let's work. Let's
So
work
the
together.
final word is that because you became our chair for the task force exchange platform between decision makers and the industry. And I would like to say that I'm so proud that we have chosen you as a co-chair. And I believe that after this one, we'll be able to bring even more decision makers to us. And we should work together, hand by hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Happy Earth Day.
Thank you so much, Nari.
Bye-bye.
Happy Earth Day.
We are in touch.
Hey.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.